Yo, man. Happy Monday, April 5th, 2021. I don't know if you saw the stories or watched the game last night, but Shohei Ohtani is the greatest player that's ever lived.
Right.
I mean, let's just stop the season and give Shohei Ohtani the Silver Slugger, the MVP, the Cy Young, whatever catcher award they give out, Gold Glove.
Platinum glove.
Yeah, platinum, Anyway, we'll talk about Shohei Ohtani in a bit. I'm a little fired up over that story. How the heck are you? Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you enjoyed your Easter. Please reward us by hitting subscribe on the old YouTube machine. The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show. Just Google search it. You'll find us on YouTube. Any of our podcasts, anywhere you want to find us, including social media, Insta, Twitter, The Monty Show. Monty, The Monty Show. Give us a subscribe and a thumbs up. Really helps the channel grow. We appreciate that very much. And why don't we start with NBA?
Uh-huh.
We'll wait. Shohei can wait. Mm-hmm. Trust me, he'll be on the DL shortly. You'll have plenty of time.
Now, before we get into our NBA topic today, what is the over/under on how long we're gonna take to piss off Jazz fans today?
Okay, why would you start the show like that?
Well, I'm just asking. I just want people to understand that this conversation, could potentially upset some people. That's all I'm saying. I just want people to know.
So you're saying the conversation we're about to have could potentially, ruffle some feathers.
Yeah, I just don't want,
upset some folks.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
I just want people to know.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't we, in fact, have the conversation about who you got, Nikola Jokic or Rudy Gobert? And it was an interesting conversation yesterday because Mr. Jokic was one rebound short of a triple-double with points, rebounds, and assists as he dished out 16 dimes, and the Nuggets make an incredible comeback against the Magic in Denver. And look, I think it has become clear over the last few weeks, I think Nikola Jokic is the MVP. We've talked about this a lot. I think James Harden's there. I certainly think Nikola Jokic is more deserving at this point, based on his performance, his value to that team. Jake, I think it's hard to make an argument that anybody but Nikola Jokic right now today deserves the MVP.
Yeah, I think obviously Jokic is playing really well, and I think that, I guess this whole MVP conversation really comes down to how you define the MVP. And last week we were kind of talking about the fact that, on this show we kind of talk about the MVP as being the guy who is most valuable to their team. If you take that guy off their team, what does that team look like? And so if you take Jokic off of that team, they're clearly not the same team. They're clearly not where they are today. And I think that, what really separates him is yes, his ability to distribute. But I think the fact that he's doing it as a big really kind of changes the dynamic. Because if you think about it, it's one thing for an average 6'4" point guard in the NBA to be standing at the top of the key and facilitating. That's what they do all game long. It's a completely different thing to have a 7-footer, a big man, a guy like Jokic standing there at the elbow or at the top of the key, setting screens, setting up Jamal Murray, setting up Aaron Gordon, setting up all these guys for really high percentage looks. And this is what I always come back to when we talk about the postseason and where this team is going to go. In the postseason, it turns into half-court basketball. You don't get a lot of that transition stuff in the postseason. And so in half-court settings, Jokic is going to dominate because he can play with his back to the basket. He can shoot the three. He can also be the linchpin of your offense, which is to say you can bring it up, give it to him, and let him get it going. And other than that, he also brings a lot of toughness. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to argue that there's another guy doing what he's doing. Yes. Do I think James Harden is right there? Yeah, absolutely. I think James Harden is now getting into the realm of, hey, I dominate the game so much that maybe people don't appreciate it as much as they once did. Because I certainly feel like some players like LeBron and any of these guys who dominate the league for a really long time, when you've dominated the league like LeBron has for 15 years now or whatever it's been, there is definitely a factor of, hey, people just assume you're going to play at that level, so you don't get the accolades you probably deserve. But at the end of the day, right now, yeah, it's probably Jokic, and I think that if you're a Jazz fan, that's definitely concerning.
I don't have any doubt it's Jokic. I think that performance last night against the Magic was exactly what we talk about when we say, hey, Rudy Gobert's got to be better. When we talk about this idea that, listen, Nikola Jokic is a complete player. He defends well. He's not the defender Rudy Gobert is. I don't know that anybody in the middle is.
Yeah.
But his ability to pass the basketball, rebound, score, shoot threes, impact the game on both ends of the floor is exactly what you want out of your big at this point. And when you look at the way the Nuggets work, everything goes through him. And he makes Jamal Murray, he makes Aaron Gordon, he makes everybody around him better. His ability to pass has really helped Aaron Gordon get established on that Nuggets roster. Rudy Gobert is never going to be that player. But I don't know that the Jazz need him to be. The insufficiency with the Jazz right now is not even Rudy Gobert's offense. It's a consistent number 2 option. But you have guys like Ben Anderson at KSL, floating the idea that Rudy Gobert should be in the MVP conversation. And I'm telling you, he's got no business there.
Yeah.
The numbers don't say that. The team performance doesn't say that.
The eye test doesn't say that.
The eye test doesn't say that.
Yeah.
So I look at Rudy Gobert, and he's a very good center. I think he's one of the best defensive players in the NBA. He's not an MVP candidate because without him, they still win. Without him, is it more difficult? Yeah, you're not as good defensively. But I'm telling you, without Nikola Jokic, the Nuggets don't win. They don't have a chance to win. He is their best player, and I don't think it's close.
Yeah, and I think when you have him standing out at the elbow and the top of the key like they did last night, again, I would just encourage everybody, go look at the highlights from last night, because last night was a great example of what they're going to do with him when they play the Jazz, because that is happening. That's going to happen this postseason. Basically, all they're doing is they're standing him up at the elbow or at the top of the key. And what they're doing is they're getting cutting action for the other 4 guys, or they're setting screens at the top to get an open look at 3, depending on the matchups. And so when you start to look at, hey, who's most valuable to their team? Well, they're not Paul Millsap's not doing that for that team, right? Like they don't have another option. And so like with Rudy, the difference is Rudy is not on Jokic's level from a passing perspective, from a scoring perspective, and really just from an offensive side of the ball perspective. Rudy's probably a better defender, I would think. I think we could all agree on that. But I just think the total package lends itself to Jokic. And I think that this conversation isn't predicated on the deal that Rudy got. But I think that for Jazz fans, when this conversation comes up about like Jokic and then, of course, Embiid, and, if Andre Drummond ever decides to play consistent minutes for the Lakers.
Ever.
It really, this conversation starts to come into the picture about, okay, well, hey, for our franchise in the Jazz, we paid Rudy $200 million. We signed him that deal, a long-term extension, and now we're committed to him, and we're comparing his performance to all these other guys, and it's like, dude, like, is this really stacking up to the best bigs in the league, and sometimes I feel like it does fall short, but I guess, that's just.
When you say fall short,
like,
what do you mean?
I just don't think, like, if you say, hey, like, swap out, take the Denver Nuggets, right? Take Jokic off the squad, put Embiid on the squad. They're not the same team.
No.
They're just not even close to the same team. And so that's why I struggle with the idea of, like, The day that they signed Rudy to that deal, I was pretty upset about it. I didn't like it. I just didn't think it was a savvy basketball play if you wanted to go and win a championship. And so now that they've done it, we've talked about it many times, but now I'm sitting here saying, okay, well, this matchup, everyone's opinion on Aaron Gordon and Jokic and that dynamic is different. My opinion is that Nikola Jokic is absolutely the linchpin of that offense. Jamal Murray's the guy that's going to knock down the dagger three, and Aaron Gordon's the guy that's going to kick your ass in the paint after he gets the ball from Jokic. And my biggest fear is that not only do you not have a guy to stop Jokic, you don't have a guy to stop Aaron Gordon. That's the problem. Like, those two guys are operating basically unchecked because they can do what they want to do because of their size.
Yeah, and I think when you look around the rest of the league, I think you also forget that the Nuggets have depth now. And I think seeing JaVale McGee make his debut last night, run the floor, look good doing it, I think the way that Aaron Gordon has been reinvigorated, this is the team that should worry the Jazz. I don't worry about the Clippers because I think you can out-physical the Clippers. I think you can be more mentally tough than the Clippers. The Lakers are not healthy. The other team is the Phoenix Suns, and I know that everybody overlooks the Suns, probably us on this show as well.
It's the Devin Booker show.
Well, yeah, I mean, and everybody says that I'm a Devin Booker homer, and hey, listen, I make no secret about the fact that Devin's my favorite NBA player, but the fact is Devin Booker's one man, and the Suns are now a team that are 8 deep, and they can, with quality, bring guys in and play rotational basketball through the middle of the game. But then in the end of the fourth quarter, you're getting CP3, Mikal Bridges. Saric has given them some nice contributions. The fact that DeAndre Ayton now is a guy that you can really count on to knock down that elbow jumper, that free throw line jumper. I mean, this offense is really developed. The only criticism I have of them is when Chris Paul's on the floor, they play a little slower than I would like.
Yeah, and you're not alone in that.
Yeah, I think that's a problem based on the way that this league is going.
Yeah.
Now, in the postseason, I actually think that's a plus because the game does slow down. You get a lot more half court. You have to execute half court defense. I think Mikal Bridges' defense has evolved to the point where you can count on him to be a very good on-ball defender and not get lost. They defend the corner three really well, which is imperative in this league, as do the Jazz. I think the Nuggets and the Jazz are on a different level in the West. And if Anthony Davis and LeBron come back, I think you can put the Lakers back there as well because you're starting to see guys develop a little bit more for the Lakers. Now that you've been a couple of weeks without those two guys, you're seeing guys get more comfortable in their role. And I also think, by the way, real quick on the Lakers, I think Kyle Kuzma is getting exposed quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he is that superstar that everybody was painting him to be.
Yeah.
Having said all of that, I still think that the Nuggets are the best team in the West. I think the Jazz are number 2. I think the Suns are number 3. But frankly, the top 8 teams in the West are all capable of winning a playoff series.
Yeah, and I think the scary thing is if you're in the West, and this is what the Lakers are seeing firsthand, is that once you're out of the top 3, you might as well be an 8 seed because you're 2 games, 3 games out from being that because it's so close. And so I think that the last thing I would say about the Lakers is I feel like they're now accepting the fact that they're not going to contend to win the West, right? They're going to get into the postseason as a mid-tier seed, and they're going to have to fight their way through the postseason.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And so I think, I don't know, man, I am really wary of the AD situation. Like, after what Kevin Durant went through with his leg thing and, like, all that, like, I can't imagine that happening to Anthony Davis.
I would go slow because I don't even know that if you bring those two guys back that the Lakers win a championship because I don't see – nobody matches up well with Brooklyn. Let's be honest. I mean, if they have home court throughout, you're done.
Yeah.
And at this point, there's no way that the Lakers would have home court over the Nets. So I think you're asking an awful lot there. And frankly, the flaw with the Lakers right now is the guys they're missing. And this is going to sound odd. Bringing those guys back doesn't fix that flaw because they're not going to be at 100%. I mean, and I know that LeBron James rolls out and he's arguably the best player in the world every time he does.
Yeah.
I understand that. Anthony Davis isn't that guy. Because I think when you bring Anthony Davis back, it's going to have been months since he played.
It's not in game shape.
Shooting, game shape, cardiovascular, question marks in his mind, being hesitant about that calf/Achilles. This is just not your year. So I would not rush him back. That's my opinion. But we'll see. I don't know. Good morning, Gabe Ledley. He says, morning, fellas. Good morning to you. Barry says, at what point do you guys stop jock riding the Utah Jazz? Well,
Well,
Barry,
I don't think I've been jock riding him, dude. Like, I think that do you like the thing I'd ask you, Barry, is how much Jazz basketball are you watching, bro? Because I mean,
oh, he's going to say none.
yeah,
He's going to say none.
and look, I'm not trying to hate on you, man, but if you're not watching the Jazz, you don't understand the power that they wield. I mean, yeah, we could do a whole deep dive into the Orlando game, but the fact is that they did what they always do to teams that are not good and not disciplined defensively. They shot the hell out of the ball, they got them into foul trouble, and they inflicted their will. And so, you wind up getting a 30, 40-point win or whatever. So,
By the way, Barry moved to Tampa over the weekend.
Really?
Yes.
Congratulations, bro.
Yes, enjoy
That's
the
awesome.
sun.
Did he
Yeah.
move from New York?
No, Barry has always been an Ohio resident.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Who spent time in Phoenix.
Got it.
Which is how he
Okay.
found us.
Okay.
But he sold his house last year and went back to Ohio. And now, instead of Phoenix, he's in Orlando.
Well, hope you enjoy it, man.
Or Tampa, excuse me. I said Orlando.
Yeah, hope you enjoy it.
He's in Tampa. So, yeah, good luck to you, Barry, there. But you're not going to find good basketball in Florida. I mean,
No.
the Heat are decent. They're not elite. So,
Yeah.
good luck to you on that. But the only reason he went to Tampa is because, well, that's where his beloved are.
Uh-huh.
The Yankees are there. There's a bunch of New Yorkers there.
Yeah.
So I say, hey, Phoenix is Chicago West.
Yep.
Tampa is New York City South.
Yeah, pretty much.
So good
Pretty
luck
much.
there. I don't know. As I look at the weekend, in the bigger stories, I think the NBA now is just kind of winding down to the playoffs.
Yeah, you're in that time of year where
know?
you're trying to if you're the Jazz or the Nuggets or any of these teams that are pretty much healthy, your biggest thing right now is not, wearing yourself out. Your biggest thing is, again, managing some minutes, not forcing Donovan to play 40 every single night, making sure that he stays fresh
Yeah.
for the postseason, that kind of stuff. And I think that the Jazz, I want, honestly, man, I want them to go out and win the West. I really do. I want them to go to the NBA Finals. I would love to see that. But I just have major concerns, and I'm not just voicing them now that they had Aaron Gordon. I was telling you guys that the Nuggets have been a problem, but since before they acquired Aaron Gordon, and now that they have him, it's just like another level.
Well, and I think the other problem for the Lakers is, in the West, you're looking at no timetable for LeBron and AD's return.
Yeah.
They start on this huge trip. They're going to Tampa to take on the Raptors.
That's so strange still.
What's that?
That the Raptors have to play,
In Tampa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. By the time they return home, I guess a week from Thursday,
Yeah.
they had better have an update on LeBron and AD, or they're just not going to come back.
Yeah. But I don't think there's anything wrong if they don't come back. I think if that's a decision you wind up going with, LeBron will be back. AD is the one where I'm like, eh.
I mean, AD's been out 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Kevin Durant's going to be back this week, by the way. Speaking of guys who are going to be back.
Ooh, thank the Lord we're saved.
Mm-hmm.
Why throw that in there? Why do that?
We get it.
Why absolutely derail the show with that ridiculousness?
What's wrong with you?
Yeah. What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
That's my guy, man.
Gabe Ledley says, you're doing it right when Jazz fans are like, stop hating, and non-Jazz fans are like, stop jock riding. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Because that's all we get on this show.
That's a great point,
If
bro.
you read the comments in our videos, all we get on this show is, that exact yin and yang. So I do appreciate that. Do we go NCAA tournament or do we go Shohei?
Well, so the only thing I wanted to say in the tournament was that I think that I think that it's partially COVID, and it's partially that there are a lot of players not playing college basketball right now. So you're starting to see the emergence of R.J. Hampton in the NBA, and his story. Obviously, LaMelo Ball has had a great year, and these kind of guys have taken what a lot of people will call a non-traditional route. I prefer to call it a gambling on yourself route, which is, hey, I know that I'm going to grow into my frame. I know that I can play basketball at a high level, and I just need to go and play basketball. Legit. I just need to go and play basketball, and that's it, and I'm going to be good. And I think that, right now, the tournament this year, I just haven't been interested. Everybody was all fired up over the weekend. This 1-point win for Stanford women's basketball, was an awesome game, and everything's cool. But, I'm not fired up about the championship game. I'm just like, dude, like
Baylor
cool.
Gonzaga is a pretty good game.
It is a good game. It is a great matchup. Like it is. Like if you're into the tournament, you're stoked about this game. Like this, for once, it's not. For once, it's not like a nameplate like a Duke or UNC or whatever. Any of these games. Like I haven't been excited about the tournament in a minute. Like it's been a couple years since I was like, man, I really got to watch it. And I think that's just like attributed to the fact that there's not a lot of like great players right now. There's only a couple.
Well, last year you didn't have a tournament, obviously, but I think we've seen the decline in the quality of NCAA basketball for several years. And I agree with you, losing guys like, Kobe, LeBron, that's been going on forever.
Mm-hmm.
But you're starting to see guys not care about NCAA basketball. And I do think this federal, investigation and the book Richardson, all of that whole FBI probe wiretap thing, I think it turned a lot of kids off. I think the vilification of Zion Williamson, in the aftermath of that whole thing, I think that turned a lot of kids off. I mean, there's no reason to have to go to college for 1 year. Kids don't want to go to school.
Yeah.
They want to go and make money. And I think that what LaMelo and what R.J. Hampton, to a lesser extent, but what those guys showed is if you go get a paycheck, you can still be picked at the top of the NCAA or at the top of the NBA draft without going through the NCAA tournament. And now, is what happened with Suggs and the buzzer beater, and does all of that raise your profile? Yeah, sure it does. Sure it does. But it also takes you a year out of your pocket.
Yeah.
And I think that's what kids don't want to deal with.
Well, and I think too, a lot of these kids, like you're talking about, Jalen Suggs or any of these, any of the top end prospects, right? Any of the guys who are, lottery picks in the NBA draft, any of those guys, their main concern, I can tell you right now, is yes, getting to the league, but the real concern is, hey, how can I take care of my family? How can I get my siblings out of this bad situation? How can I help my mom? Or how can I, that's what they're trying to do. That's like a lot of these guys, that first big check that they get for the league, they're taking care of their family. And so I think a lot of the thought process also is like, hey, let's go to Australia. Let's make, let me get $500,000 or something.
Jalen Green is the example. Jalen Green is a kid that skipped college and went to the G League and got a $500,000 contract.
Yeah, exactly.
You look at those situations. Isaiah Todd also getting paid. Like these are guys that don't have to leave the country, and the G League provides them an alternative.
Yeah.
And I think over the weekend, hearing the news that Roy Williams quit at UNC because he didn't like the state of college basketball, and really the way the transfer portal is working, and college basketball is losing its appeal.
Yeah.
And I think the NCAA tournament, sure, I don't disagree with you. You can blame it on COVID. You can blame it on a bubble. You can blame it on the rain. Do whatever you want to do. The bottom line is, COVID or no COVID, the NCAA tournament is less significant now than it was 5 years ago. NCAA basketball is far less significant now than it was 5 years ago. And I think you're seeing guys like LaMelo Ball and R.J. Hampton, they're just the beginning.
Yeah.
They're not the end. They're just the beginning.
Yeah.
And I don't know where college basketball goes here. I don't know if you're the NCAA, you're not even willing to pay guys or give them their rights or help them make money to, help your game survive.
Yeah.
So why would they go to the NCAA when they can get $500,000 from the G League?
Yeah, they're not looking to go somewhere that's trying to hold them down. They're looking to go somewhere that's going to propel them forward. And so, if you're college basketball, the really smart play here is to totally do a paradigm shift and say, okay, hey, up until this point, we have not allowed you guys to make money on your likeness. We have not allowed you guys to do, all these different things. And that's a whole other conversation. But, we basically haven't allowed you guys to thrive and make money and do what you feel you need to do. And so that's why you're not playing college basketball. So if all those old farts running NCAA sports would say, hey, look, we need to do a shift here. If we want to continue to keep making money and we want to continue to be, the brand we were when, you got the Christian Laettners in college basketball, that era of college basketball, we want to get back to that. We got to start letting these guys make money on their likeness. We got to let them start doing way more.
Here's the problem, and this is the real issue at the top of the NCAA.
Yeah.
College basketball is not college football.
Mm-hmm.
These kids don't need college basketball.
Yeah.
If you want to go to the NFL, you need to play college football because of that age rule, the 3-year rule.
Well, and there's not an alternative.
Yeah,
there's nowhere else to go.
Well, yeah, but my point is you have to play college football.
Yeah.
And until that changes, college football is always going to be king. I look at the NCAA and I look at basketball, and I'm telling you, it's dying. We are watching the end of college basketball as we know it right now. Good morning, Sean. He says, I'm sorry, but nobody deserves to lose the way that UCLA lost. Well, deserves? Gonzaga deserved to win that game.
Dude, he made a shot.
Mitchell says, stop saying Zaga, it's Zaga. You know what? Like,
cool, dude.
Get a life, bro. Like, with all due respect, I'll say Zaga or Zaga any way I want. Right? Like,
come on,
I say it different ways. That has always driven me crazy. Well, it's Gonzaga. We're the Bulldogs. Cool. And then the person in the room next to you will say, well, it's Gonzaga. We're the Bulldogs. And it's like, okay, cool. Nice. Enjoy Spokane in the summer, bro. I don't care. Sean says, I think they should let people go pro after high school. If they don't go pro, they should stay at least 3 years. That's one way to save it. And I think the NCAA had tried that. The problem is now, with the way the G League is paying players, the NCAA and the NBA don't have a good relationship.
Correct.
That relationship has been fractured because you paid Jalen Green $500,000, and he's playing in the G League. He's not playing, in the NCAA tournament.
Whereas you have NFL head coaches who have personal relationships with college head coaches to create pipelines. So Nick Saban has a bunch of relationships in the NFL and allows guys to come and scout and do their thing, and and so it's a very, hey, you feed me, I feed you kind of a deal. So
yeah, what I think is interesting is that I don't know what the quickest way to the NBA is.
I think it depends who you are as a player, honestly.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it is. I want to see what happens to Jalen Green. Mm-hmm. If Jalen Green ever becomes an NBA superstar, and actually it's not ever, within the next year or two, if he makes it and gets paid in the NBA, that's a big deal. Because so far he hasn't made it.
Right.
And if he goes to the G League and fails versus LaMelo going to Lithuania as a 5-year-old and then playing in Australia and now arguably was going to be the Rookie of the Year. I mean, look at the Hornets without him. Now, granted, the Hornets lost about 17 other players too. But
I don't even think it was arguable that he was going to be the Rookie of the Year. He was running away with it.
Yeah, I mean, LaMelo was dominating. But why? He was more mature. Mm-hmm. He was more experienced. There's a lot of value in those things.
Yeah.
And I look at Luka, and, Luka was a professional basketball player, I think, at 12. He signed his first contract.
Which is insane.
You look at the trajectory of these guys making big money before they're 20, and it's not through the NCAA tournament. It's not. You look at Zion Williamson, I get it. He was a freak. He had the shoe blowout moment. I totally get it.
That's what everyone's going to remember about his Duke days.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he went and dominated. Zion got paid off of his YouTube highlights and got drafted number 1. And look at the learning curve.
Yep.
It's taken some time. And you know what it was? In the offseason last year, he learned to dribble a basketball. Yep. He learned to get a handle. And so his development has been really of his own volition. It's not like he went to Coach K and they turned him into some great ball handler.
Yeah.
Because that's not what they did.
He was the same guy he had been through high school.
Yeah,
A dunker, a physical presence.
I just don't think that there is a fast track. I don't know, man. I could be wrong. I don't think there's a fast track to the NBA. There is a learning curve. There is a toolbox that you need. But what I am certain of is that the NCAA tournament will never be Christian Laettner with the half-court heave. Those days are over.
Yeah.
I just don't think the tournament will be that special. And we've had 2-3 great buzzer beaters, and obviously the Gonzaga win the other night. And the emergence of the Pac-12 throughout the tournament. Like, there have been some talking points. You can't tell me that you took days off of work. You can't tell me you took the opening day of the NCAA tournament off work. I cannot tell you how many people I know did not do a bracket this year.
Yeah.
Including me, by the way.
And by the way, I also think it should be said that because nobody's in an office right now for work, I also think that is a big thing. I think one of the things that made the tournament so much fun every year, it was like, all right, cool. Tournament's starting this week. Let's go in and roast Jimmy at the water cooler and tell him how much of an idiot he is, right? Like the people who follow sports on a consistent basis would love to do that every single year. And I think that it just is not the bracket in March Madness and college basketball hasn't been about the actual basketball in a minute. It's been about the culture of it. It's been about talking about it and just doing the whole thing. And I think now that we don't have the office setting and we're not doing that as much, it has lost its, pull.
I don't know, man. It's not been of a lot of interest to me.
Yeah.
Opening day was far more intriguing to me than the NCAA tournament. But hey, that's just me. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I want to see where and how Jalen Green winds up in the NBA. Like, just reading about his numbers in the G League, he's doing fine. He is doing fine. Like I look at the way he's played. I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see what he turns into. All right, make sure you hit subscribe on the old YouTube machine. If you're watching the show, please give us a thumbs up. And let's switch gears and talk Shohei Ohtani. Okay, listen, he's a phenomenal baseball player. I don't dislike Shohei Ohtani. I want to make this really clear. This is about the Angels. It's not about Shohei Ohtani. I think Shohei Ohtani is an elite pitcher. I think he's an elite hitter. He'll never be the best at either one because nobody's forcing him to be that. Mm-hmm. And when I look at Shohei Ohtani, he has Cy Young Award stuff. When I look at Shohei Ohtani, he's got Silver Slugger stuff. But I just don't think we'll ever see it. And I thought last night was the perfect example of this against the White Sox, national TV. We're going to, it comes down to what I believe was a stunt by Joe Madden and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which was, hey, start Shohei Ohtani on the mound and then bat him second. First time that's happened. Yeah, first time that's happened in over 100 years. We're on national TV. Let's do it. And what happened? Well, as always has been the case with Shohei Ohtani, and ended in disaster. The guy comes up to the plate and hits an absolute moonshot, a 451-foot home run. Full stop. That's it. That's the story of last night's game. All right, see you in 5 days. That's the story that's being told, right? Oh, he hit this incredible home run. Nobody's talking about the disaster in the top of the fifth inning, where Shohei Ohtani, by the way, I thought dominated for 3 innings, had an okay fourth inning, and then fell the fuck apart in the fifth inning. We're not supposed to curse on the show anymore. Not supposed to curse
anymore, bro.
That's been a thing. He fell apart in the fifth inning.
Yeah.
Right? We should put a jar on the counter or something.
Yeah.
Ohtani fell apart in the fifth inning. Mm-hmm. And walk guys, drop third strike. And no, we should not eliminate the drop third strike from baseball. No. If you're a big league catcher, catch the ball. That's your job. And that wouldn't have happened.
Right.
So if you missed it, Ohtani was pretty solid through 4 innings, right? Like, would you agree with that?
He dominated them, dude. I mean, he had full control of the game. And I think that it got adventurous in the fifth, no doubt. And I think that
the split, the fastball, obviously, everybody's talking about how, oh, man, he hit a 115-mile-an-hour home run, and then he threw for over 100 miles an hour. First player to ever do that. All right, cool. Yeah. We get it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you're just looking at the box score, he looks like a dominant player last night. Mm-hmm. And what I'm telling you is he was not a dominant player last night because you can't overlook what happened in the fifth.
Okay.
And as usual with Shohei, I feel like this is a situation where it started unbelievably and then it ended in disaster. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much longer the Angels are willing to put up with that. And it's still this thing with the Anaheim Angels of Los Angeles County, Riverside. There's a drop where it says, thank you. It still is on the Angels, who refuse to make this guy have a regimented schedule. So what I mean by that is, when you're a pitcher, you're on a 5-day calendar, about 30 times a year. 5-day calendar, 30 times your season's over. Shohei Ohtani, it doesn't work that way. They do not make him go through the traditional pitcher calendar. Well, because if he does that, he's going to miss batting practice. Well, they don't make him go through the traditional batting practice schedule, because if he does that, he'll miss his pitching rotations. So he doesn't do either. So he doesn't take part in pitcher fielding practice, known as PFPs. So last night, on back-to-back pitches, the wild pitch is really telling, because he's in the wrong spot to cover the plate. Then on the pitch where he gets clipped, and I can't believe he didn't break his leg, on this play at the plate where Abreu slides in and absolutely cuts him out at the ankles, Ohtani jumps and lands on the plate right where the runner's legs are.
Right.
That was never going to end well. But why is Ohtani in the wrong spot? Because he's in front of the plate, resets himself, jumps, and is on the plate. And yes, I get it. The throw was bad. It took him. The whole point of setting yourself up in front of the plate, not on the plate or next to the plate, is so that if there is a bad throw, it doesn't put you into the line of the runner, so you don't get that ass blown up.
Yeah.
But Ohtani didn't set up in the right spot. And why is that? Because he's not taking part in spring training and pitcher fielding practice, so he's not covering home plate. And the other thing that I think was very clear, he did not anticipate a bad throw from the catcher to the first baseman, which is baseball 101. We both played baseball.
Yeah.
They teach you from day one that you put on a glove. Hey, you got to, if ball is here, you are here as a pitcher.
Yeah.
Right? You got to cover the plate. You got to cover third. You got whatever it is. There is a place you are supposed to be in every situation.
Yeah.
When there is a wild pitch and there is a runner in scoring position, you are to cover home plate. Whether that's a drop third strike or a traditional wild pitch, you have to cover home plate. Why is that? Because that catcher's going to throw the ball to first, and what if it's a bad throw? Now all of a sudden the runner's coming home. So you got to cover home plate. Ohtani, that never crossed his mind until all of a sudden he was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And then he tries to cover home plate, and he just has no positioning because he doesn't take part.
And I think too the other side that you know, not just the physical side of the game, right? Not just like, hey, I have to be in the right spot or be here or there, but I also think that the speed with which the Major League Baseball level of player moves, like runners, hitters, the speed with which they throw the baseball, all that stuff is incredibly fast, right? The game moves a million miles an hour. And so if you're this guy, which Shohei is, who is trying to be a two-way player, who, you know, is pitching and hitting, and you're doing all this stuff, and you're not on a traditional schedule, you're not, by not getting those reps, not only are you not sure how you're supposed to cover something, but there will be times where he is confused. And it's not, this isn't a thing where, again, as you were just saying before we started talking about this isn't like a, hey, he sucks. We're not saying that. What we're saying is that, and they talked about it on the broadcast last night if you watched the game, what we're saying here is that the Angels are doing a really poor job of putting him in a position to have success. Right now, he's dominating because he has raw ability. And that ability has been honed for several years, both overseas and in the bigs. My main issue here is that I don't think mentally as a player, whether we're talking Ohtani or any other player in the big leagues, I don't personally believe that there is a human being on planet Earth who can go out every fifth day and give you a 100-pitch start and survive 6 innings, but then also that same day also have the mindset in the box about how to hit. And like be locked in on both sides. That's just asking too much. What's going to happen when you're in the playoff stretch run, when you're trying to, win a division or you got to win a big game, and he's just taxed mentally. These are the things that nobody in the media wants to talk about because most dudes in the media haven't played the game. And so when you haven't played the game, you don't understand. You know how much of an ass kicking it is as a pitcher to get to the ballpark in the morning, go through your strength training session, then go run like 3 to 5 miles on the outfield track, then come back, take a shower, watch tape. After you've watched tape, now we're going to eat, we're going to take a nap, and then we're going to come back to the ballpark and we're going to get ready to go. Where in there are you going to work on your hitting technique? Where in there are you going to... So you're going to watch tape on you pitching, and then you're also going to watch tape on the starter for the other team? That's not possible. It's not feasible.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying this whole idea that Shohei's going to be this Hall of Fame player who's going to play both ways and do it for 20 years, it's fairy dust. It's not real. It's not feasible.
Well, and there's too much of this, and this is probably going to go a little too deep for a lot of baseball fans. There's something called 3 true outcomes, right? It's a home run, a strikeout, or a walk. 3 true outcomes, that's it. We've become too reliant on that. And it's because of the stat era, this belief that statistics are all that matters. What I'm telling you is there's a lot more to it than that. If I'm the Anaheim Angels of Los Angeles in Riverside,
who?
I still cannot say LA Angels of Anaheim. If I'm the Angels, I'm putting him on a regimented schedule. Hey, if you really want this guy to pitch and hit, which I'm telling you is a mistake, one or the other is difficult. I think it's impossible to do both. You need to give this guy an advantage mentally. And my feeling is that you need to let him be Albert Pujols' heir apparent at first base.
Mm-hmm.
And once Fat Albert retires after this year, thankfully, if you're an Angel fan, I would have him be my everyday first baseman. Here's why I say that. Because you can never have too many at-bats. You can never hit too many home runs. You can never score too many runs. It's never enough. And Shohei Ohtani gives you the opportunity to score 6, 7, 8 runs a game, right? What are we seeing in baseball today? Pitchers don't go 5 innings.
Yeah.
They don't, right? The quality starts a thing of the past. And we've talked about this on this show for years. Mm-hmm. 6 innings, 3 earned or less. Mm-hmm. That's the bar. Nobody's meeting that bar. I look at Shohei Ohtani last night, and I'll just give you his numbers. And you tell me again, and I guess the question on the board here is, was last night a good night for Shohei Ohtani? Because I think if you flip on MLB Network and Hot Heidi Watney's there, you're going to be like, oh, this was a great night for Shohei Ohtani.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my God, 451 feet. Boom goes the dynamite. Mm-hmm. Shohei Ohtani last night, 4 2/3, 2 hits, 3 runs, 1 earned. 5 walks, 7 Ks, 4 2/3, 92 pitches, only 53 strikes.
So how many walks was it again? Sorry.
5 walks.
So what that's telling you is that, he's got the ability, but he's not, again, last night in particular, he wasn't sharp. I mean, again, I watched the entire start, and in the first 3 innings, he was pretty dominant. But there were moments where he wasn't. There were moments where he just wasn't able to lock it in. And so I think that, I don't know, man. I think that the guy deserves a lot of respect for the fact that he can do what he can do. I mean,
his talent's unquestioned.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that you can hit a baseball 450 feet and you can throw 100 miles an hour is absolutely ludicrous. But at the same time, the Angels, and maybe this is the true discussion on this topic, it's not even really about Shohei. It's about the Angels, and it's about the fact that they're forever going to have wasted Mike Trout's career, and they're forever have going to been a mediocre franchise because they don't know how to baseball. They don't know how to do what they need to do to put their team in the best possible position to win. And so, when I think, okay, well, would I rather have them on the field 160 times a season, or would I rather have them on the mound, 30 times a year? I mean, I think I probably would rather have him as an everyday player just because I think that there are so many guys now coming up in the pipe who can throw 100 miles an hour. It's not special anymore. It's not.
And the other thing that I think people forget is once you see 100 miles an hour once, the second time you see 100 miles an hour, it's a fastball.
And it happened last night. I mean, it was the beginning of the inning. I mean, he threw 99 down the middle. The guy sent it right back up the middle.
Yeah.
It's not... Big leaguers are used to it now. So I just think that if I'm the Angels, I'm making him an everyday player. But I don't know, man. They're clearly not there yet.
Yeah, and I could be making too much of it for sure. Sean says, all right, guys, so I'm an Angels fan and I love Ohtani. I do think he should just hit until we know that he's good to pitch. He's a great hitter. I think he's good to pitch. You just got to, he needs to be one way or the other. And to finish my point on Ohtani, here's the problem. He decides what he does. The Angels do not dictate to Shohei. Since the day they signed him, they agreed to let him set his regiment. They agreed to let him make the call on whether he pitches and hits at the same time. Yeah. So it's not up to the Angels. And that's a huge, huge issue. You need him to be an everyday first baseman.
Correct.
You don't I think you're wasting him by the way, what did you get out of him at the plate last night? You did get a bomb. Mm-hmm. That was awesome. He was 1 for 3 and then he was out of the game.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the real problem with the whole pitching, hitting on the same night thing, too, that nobody talks about. He was in the 2 slot last night. So if he doesn't go 7, they have the pitcher spot in the 2 slot in the lineup. So then you get into this whole situation where, you got to double switch and you got to do this and you got to do that. And it's just this whole convoluted thing. Whereas you could just have him, you could just say, hey, on the day you're not starting for us, you're in the lineup and you're playing first base. On the day you're starting, you're definitely not hitting, and somebody else is obviously playing first base.
By the way, who did not play first base last night? Albert Pujols. Mm-hmm. So what did you do with Pujols last night? He pinch hit one time, he was done. Mm-hmm. And we can criticize him for being slow and not having wheels anymore. Albert Pujols can still hit.
Yeah.
And it's a little surprising. I just think it throws your whole lineup off kilter. And there's just no reason to go through this.
You got to find a way to maximize the Shohei situation for your lineup so that you can have consistency. That's what I'd say.
So Kent is not pleased with our assessment of Shohei. Do you guys ever do anything other than hate on people you don't like?
How do we not like him?
Yeah, so who's saying we don't like Shohei Ohtani?
We started the conversation by saying we think he's a phenomenal player, and I just said it 5 minutes ago.
Just because it's different doesn't mean it's wrong. You have no ability to have an open mind. And it's like, okay, Kent, I understand maybe that you think we don't have an open mind. I look at baseball from an experience perspective. I've seen a lot of teams handle a lot of pitchers a lot of different ways. In my experience, the San Francisco Giants under Dave Righetti absolutely handled pitchers the right way. Regimented, they knew what time, what day, how they were going to be used. The bullpen guys, and we've talked about this, I know, so sorry to be redundant. Bullpen guys knew what situations they needed to be ready for. Mm-hmm. Shohei Ohtani just knows what he wants to do, and that's what he's going to do. Mm-hmm. The Angels are mishandling this. I look at the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think Torey Lovullo is not very good at handling his bullpen. And it's because he's gone through a pretty good list of pitching coaches. And I think that they just don't value development in Arizona. So you wind up with the Jimmy Sherfies of the world who go back and forth to Reno, and they're not passionate and they're not plugged in, and they have no idea when they're going to pitch or what situation they're going to pitch in, so they don't have effectiveness. I look at Joe Madden. You can question Joe Madden's use of the closer, sure. Last night, what did he get? He got Steve Cishek giving him an inning and a third of perfect baseball because Steve's a professional who they signed last week. And Joe Madden, I guarantee you, knowing the way Joe Madden handles pitchers, when they signed Cishek, he went to Steve and he said, here's how you're going to be used. You're going to be used in these situations. And that's exactly what he got.
Yeah.
And he's getting good performances. The Angels have to figure out how to change the pace with Shohei Ohtani. Because you have a guy in Joe Madden who's widely respected across baseball. He commands respect in his clubhouses.
Yeah.
But he has no control over Shohei Ohtani.
And I think that the last thing I would say on this Ohtani thing is I think that people like, I think his name was Kent or whatever, hating on us, I think folks like that, when they have the Ohtani situation or the conversation rather, they think that with us saying this that we're hating on him, and I said 4 times it's not really even about Ohtani as a dude. It's not about him as a guy. I could care less. I don't care about him as a dude. It's more just like, hey, this guy is an investment over the next 20 years for the organization, and we're sitting here trying to figure out, and we're trying to tinker with like how we're going to use him and maximize him and all this stuff. And what I'm saying is, hey, man, you've got probably 50 other guys in your pipeline who are coming, who can throw 100 miles an hour, who've probably got a filthy slider, and by the way, who probably have an awesome changeup. So I'm not as worried about the pitching side of this conversation as I am about the hitting side. This guy legit could be a silver slugger every single year and could be an awesome addition in that lineup to help Mike Trout.
He is on par with Mike Trout.
As a hitter, yeah, he is. I mean, he's very capable, and that's why I say...
And he's shown that he can play some first base.
It's not a talent issue. We're not saying he's a bad player. What we're saying is that long-term, it's not a viable option to run him out there 4 out of every 5 days, right? And ask him to hit and pitch and do all of this. It's just not feasible.
I think it's if, not when, he gives up pitching.
Yeah.
I think it's because you're going to get paid way more money as a hitter. He's not stupid. And B, I think the injury history with him as a pitcher is
there
as well.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, so interesting. Make sure you give us a thumbs up on the video if you're watching us on YouTube. Appreciate all the comments. Couple of more NBA comments. Troy says, you guys act like Jokic has defense. Without Rudy, the Jazz are barely a 500 team. Okay, listen. I think Rudy Gobert, if he wasn't there, another center would be there, another power forward would be there. This is not a 500 team with Donovan Mitchell. I mean, right now it's Donovan Mitchell and everybody else.
Yeah.
Would they be the defensive team they are without Rudy? No, they wouldn't. But there wouldn't be a 500 team. I just disagree with that. Haley says, well, okay. Haley says, you're overlooking James Harden's impact on the Nets.
Yeah.
With all due respects to the Joker, he's completely changed that team around. I think she means Harden has changed the Nets around.
Yeah, he's changed
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think they're handling it well. They're tied in the East now with the Sixers at the top, so they've rested him when they can. If Durant comes back this week and you continue to get these kind of numbers from Harden, I think it only cements his MVP status.
Yeah, I mean, look. So I think that what's awesome is that the way with what Haley's referencing there, the way that Harden has changed the Brooklyn Nets is the same way that Jokic is changing the Nuggets. I think the MVP formula is a guy who not only is a dominant scorer, he can just fill it up, but also he can assist and he can put other guys in a great position. And that's what I think the modern day MVP formula is. You have to be able to do many things offensively. And I think the thing for Harden that I think could let him edge out Joker is that he's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
This is a little bit newer for Jokic on the MVP front.
Playing at this level.
Yeah,
I think it's newer for
Harden's
Jokic.
been doing this for a long time.
All right, can we talk about selling things on KSL.com? This is how we'll end the show today. So you know that we've been doing some remodeling here at Casa de Monte.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, we've done things like replaced all our kitchen appliances so they matched. They're all Samsung stainless steel.
Right.
Okay, cool. Well, what do you have? You have an extra refrigerator then. You have like all this extra stuff. Like you have an extra dishwasher, an extra stove, all this stuff.
Just eating space in your garage.
So I don't remember, did we sell the refrigerator?
No, they took it away.
Okay, so we sold a bunch of stuff. Yesterday, we finally listed our range. We had a GE gas range.
Yeah.
It's been sitting in our garage forever. So I got the new Udi, and we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Uh-huh.
I got the new Audi Q5, SQ5, excuse me. We were playing around. I bought a pancake air compressor over the weekend. I have a slow leak on my Grand Cherokee. Need to fill up a couple of yoga balls, whatever. One thing led to another. Jake and I wound up cleaning out the garage yesterday because it just kind of led to that.
Uh-huh.
And so we listed our gas range on KSL.com. And if you're not in Salt Lake City, KSL.com is, the preeminent news station, radio and television here in Salt Lake City. But they also have a huge classified section on their website. If you want to sell something in the great state of Utah, you usually go to ksl.com. And within an hour, I had a guy messaging me saying, hey, I want to buy that range. Can I pick it up at 130? I was like, sure. He immediately agreed to the price. We priced it to sell. The guy shows up, and it is stranger danger, bro.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Dude, this guy's 6'4", a little taller than me, but he weighs like 100 pounds.
Gangly, dude.
He smells like he is a cigarette factory.
He is.
He was sweating. Now, granted, it was a warm day here in the Valley.
Yeah.
Right? And here in Salt Lake City, when it's 75 degrees, it's warm. He was sweating. The other thing that impressed me is I didn't help him. He had a little old Chevy S10 pickup truck.
It was a nice S10. I have to say, this guy takes care of that truck.
This guy pulled out a dolly, moved the oven, lifted the oven on his own into the back of that S10, closed the tailgate, and drove away. I was like, damn, this guy is sketch as hell.
When he walked up to the range, because the range was kind of in, he had to walk into the garage a little bit to get it. You knew he was legit when he started taking the range apart and throwing everything in the drawer. And
he was in the garage about a minute and a half.
Yeah, not even joking.
Out.
Yeah.
Handed me the money, paid in cash, grabbed the range. Picked it up, put it into the truck, tossed the dolly in, closed it, got it. He was like, all right, see ya. Got in, drove away. Not that I need somebody to be like, hello. The guy that bought our microwave was just very straight up.
Okay.
Rolled into the garage, just like, all right, cool. Hey, can I Venmo you? Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. Hey, can you lift the microwave on your own? He's like, yeah, sure. We plugged it in, made sure it worked, all this stuff.
Right.
All right, cool, thanks. Venmo'd me. It was over.
Right.
5 minutes. Was great.
It was cool.
Normal dude. The guy who came and picked up all our boxes when we moved, same thing. Sketch as hell. This guy yesterday, no, man.
Nah, you were like, hey, lock the door.
Yeah, no, our garage setup is so that when the garage door is open, you could see right into my house. And so I was like, hey, man, close the door. Close the door. Johnny Neutron over here. I don't want him looking into my house, And so it was one of those things where I was like, am I going to instantly regret selling this thing? And I didn't. I'm glad it's gone. It opened up a lot more space.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
So the Audi. First of all, how do you properly pronounce Audi?
It's Audi.
Audi?
No, Audi.
Well, it's audio.
No.
A-U.
No.
D-I-O.
No. Audi.
It's Audi.
Yeah, it's Audi.
And everybody, oh, nice Audi.
Yeah, it's not Gonzaga. Okay, it's Audi.
Yeah, it's not Gonzapa. Okay, please. Anyway, so I got the Audi. They got my money at this certain dealership. And, it's really frustrating that now I can't get them to call me back.
Hello, we are not available now.
Son of a... So there's a couple of issues. The Audi's got 21,000 miles on it.
Mm-hmm.
And Uday. I don't think that's how you pronounce it.
No, it's Audi.
Giggity says O-O-O-D-A-Y. Is that O-Day?
Oh, die?
Don't think that's it, Giggity. Love you.
Good talk.
Dinga, I don't make these names up, man. Dinga says A-U-D-I. Well,
yeah,
we know how to spell it,
that's how
bro.
you spell it, bud.
We know how to spell it. How do you pronounce it? I would say ow, that hurt. Audi.
Yeah.
That's how I say
Audi.
it. Anyway. So the Audi's got 21,000 miles on it. SQ5, fast, quick. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
But the key fob won't open up the trunk. So I called the dealership and they're like, oh, hit the valet button in the glove box. That's right. You don't have a valet button in the glove box.
It's really unfair.
So nobody knows why the key fob won't. So anyway, I call them and they're like, yeah, we'll call you back. And then crickets. So what do you know? As if the Audi gods were on my side, I got a survey saying, hey, rate us a 5. So I replied to the text that the survey came in, and I said, no, man, I can't rate you a 5 because I'm really unhappy. Well, hot damn. The general manager of the dealership texted me, and then the service manager called me back. Right? Like, oh my goodness.
On cue, baby.
So my Apple CarPlay doesn't kick on when you plug an iPhone in. Like, there's just some things about the car that we need to get corrected. They're like, well, yeah, bring it back. I'm like, well, bro, I live in Daybreak. You guys are in downtown Salt Lake. I'll need to do that next Saturday morning.
Yeah.
So I don't drive. Frankly, I never leave the house during the week. Who are we kidding? I don't drive much during the week.
Right.
So next Saturday morning, I will have to bring it downtown, and they'll try to address these things.
Right.
But I just hate the idea. And I am how do I say this? I'm really sensitive to bad service. Really. I can't, if I give you my money in return for something, you better return to something for my money.
I try to stay calm and not curse.
You better, yeah.
Better follow through.
Yeah. The Udi dealership didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Dinga says, just say Audi. I am. It's Audi.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Udi dealer didn't do that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Still give me a thumbs up, will you? Anyway, the Audi dealer didn't do that.
Right.
And so now I got to correct
But I
that.
thought the experience of getting the car was good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was super easy. We were in and out of there in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It was super easy.
Yeah.
If we had test driven the car and signed in the same thing, we'd have been in and out in an hour.
Yeah.
We signed all our paperwork on an iPad, didn't have to sit in an office,
Yeah, it was
didn't
nice.
have to get like pressure upsold. Like it just didn't work that way.
Yeah.
So it was really good. So I was really happy about that. By the way, you had chicken fettuccine the other night.
Bomb, dude.
How long had it been since you had
Oh,
fettuccine?
man, dude, it's been a long time. It was, I mean, Olive Garden's chicken fettuccine is amazing.
So my mother-in-law's in town, and so we got Olive Garden the other night.
Right. Again, breadsticks still undefeated.
Soup and salad at Olive Garden is highly underrated.
Yeah.
Just telling you. So we went to Olive Garden. You got the fettuccine. I got lasagna, which I hadn't had in a couple of months.
How was that? That was good?
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Olive Garden's really good.
Yeah. Consistent.
I'm telling you. Olive Garden is really good. Play the song. I loved it. No, the theme song.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, you didn't play drops today, so.
Well, I didn't have an opportunity.
Okay, that's one man's opinion.
Well.
Make sure you hit subscribe on the old YouTube machine. Give us a thumbs up on this video. It really helps. Give us a thumbs up on our highlights. If you miss any of the topics, we cut highlights every day. Give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. If you're listening on the audio podcast, God bless you, Stitcher Radio. Thank you, Spotify. Thank you, Apple. Thank you, Google. Those are all our top performers on the audio side. Thanks for watching and listening to the show. Until tomorrow, say